You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is my third report on extreme poverty and human rights, and this is based on my development of my earlier reports and also a workshop that took place in Geneva, 23rd and 24th of February, to discuss the suggestions that I made, and also another report of my mission report to the United States. I have taken advantage of this report to highlight three things. First, we have to have a concept of extreme poverty which can be measured, estimable, and can be actually tackled by policies. Second, there must be a social consensus in the countries to adopt removal of extreme poverty as one of the top priority policies. And third, trying to demonstrate or show with specific economic policies in different countries whether any such application of policies to remove extreme poverty are feasible. Mr. President, the world now has accepted that poverty is not just a matter of income or economic poverty, that it is multidimensional. I have built upon this concept to build up this notion of extreme poverty as a combination of three poverties: income poverty, human development poverty, and social exclusion. Income poverty is already well known, people living below a particular level of income. Human development poverty is also quite well known because of the human development reports, that the people who are unable to reach more than a particular level of human development. Social exclusion is a new element that I have put in, following the examples of the European Union practice, which build up the relational aspects of poverty, that people who may be not income poor, may be not human development poor, but because of the social structure, because of the relationships of the different groups of people, they are not allowed to enjoy the essential benefits, essential freedoms of life. The attractiveness, according to me, in defining extreme poverty in this way is to bring down the problem of poverty to a manageable level. It does not mean that we should not try to eradicate poverty as such, but since we are talking about the real world situation, we are confining ourselves as the first step to a limited number of people who suffer from all the three aspects of poverty: income poverty, human development poverty, and social exclusion. If this is acceptable, that this is the extreme form of poverty which is a scourge on human dignity, then it is possible to build up an international movement to develop a consensus that let us accept that this obligation has to be taken seriously by all states so that extreme poverty can be removed. I have discussed in my report the notion whether extreme poverty is a violation of human rights or is caused by human rights, non-denial of human rights. This particular issue is not so important, except that if the international community accepts that a state without extreme poverty is a human rights entitlement, then it can adopt policies, not just fulfillment of existing human rights, but all policies, including international cooperation, which will contribute to the removal of poverty. So this is the advantage of looking at extreme poverty as the so-called violation of human rights. That is, an entitlement to human rights is a state without extreme poverty. It depends upon the international consensus, but if the international consensus is there are plenty of policies which can remove this extreme form of poverty. I gave a very simple example from a distinguished philosopher, economist description, that a transfer of less than 1% of world income, most of which is accounted for by the industrial countries, would have been sufficient to abolish poverty throughout the world. This is the starking fact, and that fact shows that it is perfectly possible within the competence of the international community to remove extreme form of poverty. The question is how we go about it, what is the method of recognizing this as an international obligation and formulating international policies. This is what I have tried to do in my reports. I shall continue to try to do these reports with respect to different countries. Only one point I would like, Mr. President, the Council to take into account, that once we accept that there are certain portion of humanity who are living in the worst possible form of deprivation of dignity, then a consensus emerges, and that would be the first step towards the removal of poverty. This is the aim of my whole study. I have tried to show that this poverty is not just a problem of developing countries. In fact, my report on the US mission clearly shows that the world's biggest, largest, richest economy also has a substantial amount of poverty. So the poverty is a societal phenomenon. It has to be attacked. It has to be tackled as a societal phenomenon. Mr. President, I think this would summarize my basic report, which if you can, if there is a subject, if any question comes up, I shall be happy to answer.